Hello, I'm back today with another video about how to keep the foreplay going all the time. And this is something that is really important when it comes to busy life and women having kind of to do it all in today's society with babies and work and running the household and self-care for themselves and keeping up friendships and family and all sorts of things. And oh, little dogs to take care of sometimes too, huh? Say hi, little dog. So sometimes it feels like, how am I going to get to this part of my life? How am I going to fit in all of the goals I have around my intimate relationship when I'm a really busy adult that is trying to do all the things as a woman? And women can get really bogged down with their to-do list and their details that sometimes are kind of getting in the way of more important, bigger picture items. And it's easy to focus on those little details to kind of distract yourself. But in order for this part of your life to be really successful, it does take a certain level of focus, determination, and learning to really concentrate and tune out a lot of those stories and overwhelming details that kind of clutter up modern life and all of these things that we have to juggle. You know, it wasn't long ago that humans didn't have to get in the car and go drive around the city in order to achieve their goals. Driving itself can be a stressful experience, especially as a woman when you're alone out on the road and you just don't know what kind of crazy people are out there that you're going to run into, become aggro and like road rage on you. And I mean, I live in a big city, so this is something that I encounter from time to time. And being out there in the city, getting all the things, doing all the things, if you start to feel really overwhelmed and you start telling yourself stories like, I'm so overwhelmed and I, can't cope with this. And maybe it's because my brain is working differently than other people's, and maybe I'm neurodivergent. And I hear all sorts of stories that people go into, and all of that may be helpful for you in what it is that you're working through in your life. But a lot of energy gets put into all sorts of fix it projects with women, like, let me fix this, let me fix him, let me fix my kids, let me fix all sorts of things that I think are going wrong. And this kind of perpetuating problem solving that women get into to try to feel like we're accomplishing something or we're more productive, all of this is draining energy out of the focus of your life that, to me, could really be the most important thing to get you to achieve all of these goals that you're after, and to keep your body, mind, and spirit in a healthy state, because of how the sexual divine energy, when you really attain the highest level of this energy field, you will just naturally be channeling this energy through your body, through your life, through your family, through the people that you're interacting with. And it gets easier, starts to become a flow of just how you operate, what your system is used to doing. And in order to get there, a lot of times just there's cleanup work to do. So I'm gonna go with some of my notes here so I don't get lost, and take a quick sip of my nice little lemon water because I'm feeling a little puffy. Oh, that's so nice, a little hot lemon water. So just starting here, I think, okay, in my little cup, what kind of sexual divine energy am I channeling in my lemon water? Well, let's see. Friday, I was lucky enough to get to go with my oldest daughter to a beekeeping field trip. And one of the things we learned on the beekeeping field trip was how bees, they put out a scent depending on what's going on in the hive for the other bees to respond to. And there are a few different scents that are put out. So the fear scent was put out if the bee sense fear, and it smells like banana, apparently. The queen smells like rose, which I think is so fitting. I love rose. And The follow me scent the bees put out is lemon. Isn't that cool? So maybe I'm drinking a little bit of my lemon water. I think he's going to follow me today and kind of program that into the narrative of the day for myself. Okay, he's following me today. This lines up nicely with the teachings that I had planned. So, foreplay. Foreplay happens all the time. Anything you're doing with your spouse is a form of foreplay. So if you are really angry and yelling and getting into fights, you know, that works for some people. Some people really enjoy the like, fuck me, fight me game, right? You go back and forth tit for tat and intensify the outcome. And sometimes that really doesn't work for people, actually. So the fighting foreplay can be super toxic and just lead you further and further apart. So you have to start to kind of like examine what is the energetic outcome of the foreplay that you're putting forth. So I put down a couple examples of, you know, things that happened recently in my life that turned into foreplay. And one really important thing about this is that you compartmentalize the things in your life so you have structure around it. You know you're going to have enough sleep, you're going to have enough food. You've set all these things up in your life so you are ready to go and you have more bandwidth available for the fun stuff, the foreplay. You've got your income. You know how you're going to be making money, so you're not holding yourself in a fear consciousness constantly and lack, worrying about what's the next day going to bring. You, like I said, have taken care of your fundamental basics of making sure sleep, food, shelter, clothing, you have all these things secure. So you're not having to drop down all the time in order to be kind of almost behind yourself chasing for these regular basic evolutionary standards of living that humans have set on this earth. When you really feel like you've got these routines and structures in place, take a look at where you can cut the fat. So am I spending a lot of energy like watching TV or listening to a podcast or reading or putting my energy anywhere that is taking away from me really expressing my most excitement and juiciest and favorite and most fun ways of interacting with foreplay? If those things are starting to really weigh you down, if you look at your schedule, you're like, I am stretched too thin and I've got all these things on my plate here that are really unnecessary, you start to cut those things down. So the focus and the priority of your life is really to harness and plug into the divine energy. And you're doing that through heightening the sexual experience with your committed partner. The reason I think it is important to be in a committed relationship is because I've experienced not being in one, and that there's too much subconscious fear lurking in the female psyche for that to really sustain and be somewhere that you can access that divine loving vibration. That is the purpose of my teachings. So back to some of my notes here. Romanticizing your life. So, like I was saying before, this little cup of tea, turning it into a nice, beautiful, romantic story for yourself. In fact, in this case, I have a family name, Valerie, on my teacup, and this teacup was special. It was given by my great-grandmother to my mother, and has some French writing on the cup that is talking about this flower that is on the cup. And so much of this just little cup of tea can be romanticized for my personal psyche. Valerie being the family name and the name of my firstborn daughter. And I've studied abroad in Paris, which is the most romantic city for me. And programming flowers. I mean, flowers are sort of the orgasm of the plant world in my mind. And if you can kind of focus in deeply on flowers and connect, you can get into that orgasmic vibration and higher consciousness state without, you know, having an intercourse act along with it sometimes. So romanticize the little moments, the little pieces. It's your job. Like, we program and bring alive these inanimate objects. Without your presence and focus behind everything happening in your life, it's just stuff. It just becomes deduced to like dust, essentially. So your beliefs and programming around each little piece of your life and how to romanticize it is the ticket. Putting on the jewelry that my husband has gifted me, you know, these little diamonds and little gold pieces, and putting them on and thinking, oh, he really thinks I'm a queen. I am the ultimate attainment for him. Him gifting me these things is fulfilling the highest divine calling that our souls came in with, to love and honor each other through this life experience in our marriage, and making sure that you get the programmed hit of juicy, loving, exciting, conscious presence and awareness when you're going through each step, and not just rushing along past and focusing on what's got to be improved and how I'm going to be productive and how I've got to prove to the world that I'm useful. You don't have to work so hard and think so much about these other little details when you're really working in the foreplay energy, so that everything coming forward in your life feels juicy, feels connected, feels divine. So back to what I was saying, I kind of ramble a little bit, but romanticizing your life with holding foreplay that's happening all day. So I went out with my girlfriends a couple weeks ago, and it was a really, really special day. It was programmed with an earthquake that happened in San Diego that day. It was like, boom, this really intense but fun earthquake. Wasn't scary. Nothing bad happened. It just shook us around a little bit, along with a full moon. And we met up with some people who I met with these two girlfriends of mine. We were celebrating their birthdays, and there was another friend from our yoga world who goes so far back. And for all of us to come together in that moment just felt so divinely orchestrated, and the energy, the excitement, the like charge for life, we all just jumped in full force into this meal. And we were flowing with wine and we were flowing with champagne. And the old friend that was joining us was a sommelier. So he was really focused on, you know, how do you know the champagne's the best? And how do you know which wine to pair with which? And all the things that sommeliers just love to do to get super juicy. So we opened a bottle of champagne, and he's explaining how, and I actually been to Champagne and eaten the grapes off the vine in Champagne. So whenever I have champagne, it like just transports me back to one of the most divine experiences of my life. You know, lucky me. Thank you, God, so much for that incredible programming that I will always have in this lifetime. So he's talking about tight bubbles. He keeps going on and on about how, you know, the champagne's really good when you can see the really, really tight bubbles. They've got to be tight, and they got to cling to the bottle. And when they cling to the glass, if you're looking at your glass, then you can see the tight bubbles. And so naturally, I'm like, yes, yes, give me more. This is just so, so luxurious. And I'm programming what he's saying, the tight bubbles, tight bubbles, right? It sounds so sexy. So of course I pull my phone out and I just start texting my husband tight bubbles, and he doesn't really know what we're talking about. He's not at this dinner. And but I'm like looping him in. Everything that we're going to talk about and the sexiness that's happening at the dinner, it's all to program my relationship with him and get back home and get back in bed with him and like carry on what was going on from that meal. Just take it all with me. Like, it's God's offering of the luxury, the divine, the gloriousness. And I'm just going to drink it in and allow it to program that sexual experience that's coming next. So one other comment, like everybody, I think of my generation, I don't know. I was talking to some people who are a little older than me and like tuned out from social media and things, and they're just kind of not catching on to a lot of the inside jokes. But culturally speaking, I think everyone is aware that like eggplant emojis are a euphemism, peach emojis are a euphemism. Um, the water squirt emoji is a euphemism, right? And so teasing my husband all day long with these little emojis too, and he's teasing me back, like having that back and forth going, especially if you're having a bad day, it's like all the things are crashing down and it seems like nothing will connect or work, and you get into, okay, well, let's have a little fun. Let's program some joy somewhere. Let's get into that divine hit and not make it condescending, not make it arrogant, not make it about like some sort of power trip or like you're so stupid. I mean, I see a lot of sort of debasement in that way. And in modern society, I think it's cool to be above it, or it's cool to think things are silly and like laugh because I'm so unbothered by that. But none of that is that fun. Like you are really working to do the programming here. And so I encourage, especially if you've been in a relationship a long time, it's not always easy to turn that stuff on if you get into these ruts or like these grooves of negative habits and contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt, like Taylor Swift says. And somebody told me the other day, yeah, Taylor Swift didn't say that first. Yeah, I know. Okay. There's so much worry about copyright in today's society, but let's just be real. Familiarity can breed contempt. It can lead into like negative patterns of resentment, especially if you're not reaching these goals easily and you just start to like kind of blame each other. So getting back to silliness and sort of a childlike energy, like being able to harness and utilize a childlike energy when appropriate in order to make this kind of stuff really fun and exciting and continue to be fun and exciting. And then you're able to, step into your mature, grown adult life and modality anytime, right? You can jump into your phone, send a cute text to your husband that's super silly and fun and childlike. Youthful is what I'm trying to say, like youthfully alive, right? And then you're back immediately into work mode or mom mode or buying errands at Costco, whatever it is. So it's like you are able to jump in and out with that range confidently because you really practiced and valued doing that work. So inside jokes, make it fun, tight bubbles, Anything you can come up with really can be silly and fun, and the cultural references are abundant for this. So it's a matter of really creating that intention, programming that part of your life to be what you want it to be. He is playing in your realm. He's playing in your goddess realm. You are setting the tone of whether or not he's successful. So the question I have for you is, did you come all this way here to this life to experience this fleeting human life just to think about your to-do list, just to measure how many centimeters your waist is, to fight with your parents, try to convince them of your worldviews? I did that for a long time. Hint, he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. His success is based on your pleasure. As you start to really take responsibility for your pleasure and the way that you show up in the bedroom or all day long in the foreplay realm, the way that you experience pleasing yourself with a little cup of tea. I recently got a new lip gloss. I don't know if you can see. Getting really juicy and into my lips and my lip gloss. the more that you can really enjoy your life and enjoy yourself, he's just jumping into the pool with you. Oh, so good. Oh, so lemony. So, some people do believe that his financial success is based on his sexual satisfaction, if you will. So, the more that his self-esteem is boosted by fully satisfying his woman is where the magic lies. So many people get stuck with, how am I going to get him to do this? Or he's not listening to me, or we've got some sort of rift here. He doesn't respect me. And a lot of that energy can be shifted by you getting into this divine play of sexual energy and bringing him along with you. He's just going to follow your lead. And if you are fully satisfied, then he can step into his full success at the same time. And if not, then he's feeling like a failure. So if he's really holding this consciousness of like, I'm no good, I'm a failure, I can't even turn on the woman that like chose to marry me, I can't seem to keep it up, right? Have you ever had that where he's not keeping it up, but you are really thinking a bunch of negative stuff about him or about yourself? So examining where you're allowing your thoughts to go. It's sort of irresponsible to allow your thoughts to travel into these really negative places when your goal is to be getting yourself into that divine vibrational energy. He has one goal when you're in the bedroom: turn you on so he can be turned on. He wants to be the height of turned on by how turned on you are. And again, if you've been doing this with the same person for a long time, it's easy to get into those negative grooves. So part of what I'm offering with private coaching will be expanding your imagination around your sexual experience. The deeper you can get into your imagination and connect with all sorts of things, you're going to be shocked and saddened by how limited your experience has been thus far. How much of a limit, I guess that's what I keep saying, limit, you've put on your own experience. And it may just be no one's ever introduced these concepts and has not explained how you can get to these higher levels of mental planes in order to enjoy physically what's happening in your environment. So much more like beyond what you thought. And these things build. It is a buildable experience. Each time it gets better and better, it's programming the future of your relationship as well. So if you're not turned on, you're emasculating him. If you're not turned on, he's like a bird with no feathers suddenly, and it just becomes a feedback loop. So my question for you is, why aren't you turned on? Your question for yourself can be, why aren't you turned on? Well, I think that's the best place to stop and move into another video. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope it's given a little food for thought, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a beautiful day. Don't forget tight bubbles. Bye.